Long before equations filled notebooks, before machines calculated faster than any human could think, the world faced a quiet but persistent problem. People knew many things, yet they did not know how to organize what they knew. Merchants argued over numbers they could not reconcile. Architects relied on intuition rather than method. Astronomers observed the skies but lacked a unified language to describe what they saw. Knowledge existed, but it was scattered, fragile, and difficult to transfer. Into this world, Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi was born. He came from the region of Khwarazm, a land positioned not at the edge of civilization, but at the intersection of many of them. Persian administrative traditions, Indian numerical systems, and Greek scientific texts all passed through this region, carried by traders, scholars, and travelers. From the beginning, Al-Khwarizmi lived in a world where ideas met. This mattered because the people who change history rarely invent from nothing. They recognize patterns where others see fragments. When Al-Khwarizmi arrived in Baghdad, he stepped into one of the most ambitious intellectual experiments humanity had ever attempted. The Abbasid capital was not merely a political center. It was an engine of translation, debate, and synthesis. At its heart stood the House of Wisdom, a place where Greek philosophy, Indian mathematics, and Persian astronomy were not merely preserved, but interrogated. Texts were translated, corrected, compared. Errors were identified. Contradictions were discussed openly. Knowledge was no longer sacred because of its origin. It was sacred because it could be understood. Al-Khwarizmi thrived in this environment. Before his time, mathematics was deeply visual. Greek thinkers relied on geometry and shapes. Problems were solved through diagrams and spatial intuition. Indian scholars introduced efficient numerals, but without a formal method that could be generalized across problems. Practical calculations existed, but they were case-specific. Each problem felt unique. Each solution felt isolated. Al-Khwarizmi saw the weakness in this approach. Humans, he understood, do not struggle with complexity itself. They struggle with unstructured complexity. Rather than asking how to solve a single problem, Al-Khwarizmi asked something far more dangerous. How do we solve any problem of this kind? That question marked a turning point. When he wrote Al-Kitab al-Mukhtasar fi Hizb Algebra wal Muqabala, he was not trying to impress philosophers. He was trying to make life work. Inheritance disputes, land division, trade agreements, legal judgments. These were not abstract puzzles. They were daily realities, and they demanded reliability, not brilliance. Al-Khwarizmi's solution was revolutionary in its simplicity: reduce problems to steps. The terms algebra and al-Muqabala described actions, restoring and balancing. But what they truly represented was a method. Unknown values were no longer mysterious. They could be named. They could be moved. They could be balanced. For the first time, mathematics treated the unknown as something manageable rather than threatening. This was the true birth of algebra. But something deeper was happening beneath the surface. Al-Khwarizmi was quietly retraining the human mind. He was teaching people to trust procedure over intuition. Intuition feels powerful, but it is fragile. Procedure feels restrictive, but it is repeatable. Repeatability is what allows knowledge to scale. Al-Khwarizmi insisted on clarity. Every step had to be justified. Every transformation had to be logical. Ambiguity was removed, not tolerated. This mattered because it changed who could access knowledge. Mathematics no longer belonged only to the exceptionally gifted. It belonged to anyone who could follow instructions. That was a radical idea. There is a reason Al-Khwarizmi's name would later transform into a word that defines modern civilization: algorithm. An algorithm is not intelligence. It is disciplined thinking, a finite sequence of steps, clear inputs, predictable outcomes. Al-Khwarizmi never saw a machine, but he understood something timeless. The human mind needs structure to think clearly under pressure. His influence extended far beyond algebra. He compiled astronomical tables that refined earlier observations. He corrected geographical data inherited from Greek sources. He helped map the known world with improved accuracy. Again and again, the same pattern appears. He did not reject the past. He organized it. Perhaps his most underestimated contribution was his role in spreading the Hindu-Arabic numeral system. The numbers you use every day, including zero, reached Europe largely through Latin translations of his work. Roman numerals could not support complexity. Zero could not exist meaningfully within them. Al-Khwarizmi treated zero not as emptiness, but as a functional element. This single conceptual shift allowed mathematics to expand beyond its previous limits. Zero changed everything. It allowed absence to be counted. It allowed systems to grow. It allowed logic to scale. Al-Khwarizmi understood this long before its consequences were visible. What is striking is how quietly his influence spread. He did not seek recognition. He did not write manifestos. His ideas moved because they worked. Merchants adopted them. Administrators relied on them. Teachers taught them. Centuries later, Europe absorbed them, often without knowing their origin. When Latin scholars encountered Al-Khwarizmi's work in the 12th century, European thought began to reorganize itself. Universities changed curricula. Mathematics became procedural. Scientific reasoning gained structure. The Renaissance did not begin with art. It began with method. Al-Khwarizmi did not give humanity answers. He gave it something far more durable, a way to approach the unknown without fear, a way to reduce chaos into steps, a way to think clearly when intuition fails. And this was only the beginning of his legacy. The full meaning of Al-Khwarizmi's work did not reveal itself in his lifetime, because what he offered humanity was not an invention that could be admired immediately, but a way of thinking that needed time to take root. He did not tell people what to think. He showed them how to think when certainty was impossible. And that distinction would quietly reshape the future. Within the Islamic world, his methods spread because they were reliable. They reduced disputes. They simplified administration. They brought order to complexity. But the most dramatic transformation occurred centuries later, far beyond Baghdad. In 12th century Europe, mathematics was still constrained by Roman numerals. Calculation was slow. Abstraction was limited. Large-scale scientific thinking was difficult. Then Al-Khwarizmi's works were translated into Latin, and Europe encountered something it had never truly possessed before: methodical reasoning. Algebra entered European scholarship not as a curiosity, but as a tool. Problems could now be generalized. Unknowns could be named. Solutions could be repeated. This shift did more than improve mathematics. It reshaped how problems themselves were perceived. A problem was no longer an obstacle. It was a process waiting to be structured. Universities began to reorganize knowledge. Education slowly moved away from memorization toward procedure. Scientific inquiry gained a foundation it had previously lacked. The scientific method did not appear overnight. It evolved gradually. And at its core was the idea that reality could be approached step by step, without fear. That idea carried Al-Khwarizmi's fingerprint. Centuries later, as Europe entered the age of mechanics and machines, his influence resurfaced in an unexpected form. Machines could not rely on intuition. They required instructions. Clear ones, unambiguous ones, repeatable ones. This is where the concept derived from his name became indispensable. Algorithm. An algorithm is not creativity. It is discipline. It is thought stripped of ambiguity. It is reasoning made mechanical. Every modern system, from banking to navigation, from medicine to communication, depends on this principle. And that principle traces its intellectual ancestry back to Al-Khwarizmi. Ironically, the modern world often fears algorithms. They feel powerful, impersonal, detached from human values. But algorithms are not autonomous beings. They are reflections of human reasoning, frozen into structure. They do not decide. They execute. and the clarity they demand forces humanity to confront its own logic. Al-Khwarizmi's greatest contribution was not algebra, nor numerals, nor astronomy. It was the courage to believe that uncertainty could be managed. He taught humanity that the unknown did not need to be feared, only defined. That chaos could be reduced. That confusion could be organized. That complexity could be approached calmly, one step at a time. Today, billions of people use his legacy without knowing his name. Every calculation, every automated decision, every digital process, all of them echo a quiet idea born in Baghdad over 1,000 years ago. Al-Khwarizmi did not build monuments. He did not establish schools bearing his name. He did not shape history through force or ideology. He shaped it through structure. And structure, once embedded into thought, becomes invisible. That is why his legacy feels omnipresent yet unseen. It lives not in textbooks alone, but in the habits of modern thinking. Whenever humanity faces the unknown and chooses method over panic, clarity over confusion, steps over instinct, it is walking a path Al-Khwarizmi helped lay. And that is how one man, without ever imagining computers, taught the world how to think in a language machines would one day understand.